Last night was not fun. Toronto FC played their 17th game of the season against Minnesota United. It was their first ever game in Minnesota, and they lost 4-3 in what really, until the last 20 minutes, was just an uninspired performance and really just emphasized everything that has been wrong with this team this season. This is the team that is coming off of what was the best season in MLS history, set the record for points last year, became the first ever Canadian team to win MLS, to become the first ever MLS team to win the domestic treble. And now this season, that team has just gone back to what TFC was 7 years ago, back when we were the joke of MLS. It just doesn't make sense. We have all the same players. We were one goal away from being the best team in North America, yet for some reason this team just doesn't seem to have what it takes to get things done in MLS this season. And it leaves us to ask the question, what exactly is wrong with TFC right now? Is it Vanny's fault? Is it Giovinco? Bradley? Is just the dressing room broken? I think the main issue is how we never recovered from the Champions League. Going into this season, it was very obvious. Greg Vanney had said that this team's goal was to win the CONCACAF Champions League. And if you watch the early games back in March and April, we were playing all our starters in the Champions League games during the midweek, and on the weekend MLS games, we were basically playing TFC too. No Giovinco, no Altidore, no Bradley. Irwin was starting in net over Bono. We weren't playing Vazquez. We weren't playing Mavinga or Moore, or any of our top defenders. We were essentially playing TFC2 out there in place of Toronto FC. And at the time, everyone was like, we're doing great in the Champions League. We're just going to recover from that. And we can afford to throw a few points away at MLS in the beginning of the season. We can afford to lose a couple of games, because then once we finish the Champions League run, we'll start playing Giovinco and Altidore and Bradley and Vazquez and Mavinga and all those stars and all of our better players in MLS, and we'll just dominate like we did last season because we're the same team. We're better. In fact, we're better because we got Van der Wiel and Arrow and Akeche. But that didn't happen. We came back from the Champions League, and we just, I don't know, like you could feel that the team just didn't believe after they lost to Guadalajara. You can feel that they just had a bit of a readjustment period trying to get back into MLS, but they never fully got back into it. They had a couple games there and then they lost, and then just lost all confidence after that. It also doesn't help that in our Champions League run, we lost so many key players due to injuries. And I don't think we've been fully healthy at all yet this season, because Vazquez was injured at the beginning of the year. Then Morrow got hurt. Then Mavinga got hurt. Then Altidore got hurt. Altidore's been out since April. And we really are hurting without him. You can see our offense is really hurting without him. We've lost Drew Moore's been out for a while. What speaks the most about this season for TFC is every single one of our center backs has at some point been injured. Things got so bad that at one point we were playing Michael Bradley at center back. Now, Bradley is a very good player. He can make some very good tackles. He's a great center defensive midfielder, but he's not a center back at all. He's better when he's able to control the ball in the midfield and be creative moving forward. And him playing center back hurt us defensively because he's not a center back, and also hurt us offensively because we were lacking his vision up front and moving forward in the transition game. And yes, we've had Hagelin and Zavaleta come back now, but we still are missing Drew Moore and Mavinga, who really are just key parts of that defense last season. Now, we're 17 games in the season this year, which is exactly half the season. This is the halfway point. And we've already allowed 34 goals in MLS this season. Last year, over the entire 34-game season, we only allowed 37 goals the entire season. We're 3 goals away from allowing exactly the same amount as we allowed in a whole season last year, and we still need to play 17 more games. So the defense hasn't been good because of injuries. The offense has also been struggling because of injuries, because we've had no Altidore for over 2 months now, and you can just see that Giovinco really is not the same without Altidore. With Altidore, teams kind of have to switch between covering both of them. Altidore just gives a big presence in the box. They got to cover. He gives another incredibly strong attacking force. Without him on the team, Giovinco's kind of alone out there, and teams are able to just focus in on him and just focus on blocking Giovinco, and then we just have no one else really to step up and score. When Vasquez in the lineup as well is a bit better, but he's also been in and out all season of multiple different injuries. He had a back problem earlier in the year. And really, Vasquez, we've just been so stretched for strikers that we've been playing him in more of an attacking position. Vasquez is really better when he's in the midfield and able to send us creative plays up to Giovinco and Altidore going forward. The injury to Altidore has just been such a killer for us offensively. And I know last year we were able to survive without Altidore and Giovinco, both at stretches, but that was just because we had the confidence to do so. This season, we just haven't had an opportunity to build that confidence that we can play without these players, and now we're just struggling without them. So what do we need to address going forward? The transfer window opens next week, and really, I think that this team cannot just sit right now. We need to change something, because given the fact that, given our position in the East, we're one real good run of games away from being in a playoff spot, and I feel like we really should still be able to make the playoffs this season. And if we scrape in, and if we get fully healthy, and if we get confidence back, we still can win MLS Cup. That's not out of the question yet. But we need a couple things before we do that. I think most importantly is we need another big striker. We need essentially we need another Altidore, but a cheap Altidore, obviously, if we don't have any designated player spots open. Because Vanny isn't playing Ricketts, he hasn't been getting the job done. Jordan Hamilton has flashes, but I don't think he's there yet to be a consistent starter or a third striker in MLS. We need another striker desperately. Someone who can, just a big aerial presence in the box who can cover, well, Altidore is injured, and just open up space for Giovinco. I think that's the number one concern that TFC needs to address this transfer window. Another thing is maybe get another center back, especially depending on how long Drew Moore is going to be out for and Mavinga is going to be out for, because we are really hurting there without him. We could probably sell Jason Hernandez, maybe Nick Hageland, I know that's an unpopular opinion, to open up some more space and just try to grab someone to help our defense be more stable, because right now things are not working. Honestly, I think the midfield can go untouched if Vasquez comes back, and if Akeche can hit the form that he should have had when we bought him. I don't know why Vanny hasn't been giving Akeche chances. I feel like Akeche is a very creative player that we could use in the midfield more often, but for some reason we've been playing Chapman more. I don't agree with that. I feel like we should be playing Akeche over Chapman, but I mean, Greg Vanny has his reasons. We'll have to see if he changes that later in the season. But yeah, I haven't lost all hope for this season. I still think that if we can scrape into the playoffs, we can have a shot at MLS Cup if we get healthy. It's just, something needs to change. The mentality needs to change, and this team needs some confidence. And if that happens, we're still in this. We're still in the fight for MLS Cup. Remember, we are the team that just set the record for best season ever in MLS last year. That team is still here. It's not like we had a fire sale or anything. Really, we only lost Beta Shore. So that team's still here. We can still do it. TFC is not done.